You know, it's rare for me to come across an anime that encompasses a genre of storytelling so well that it compels me to change my entire script writing style and write a video like this. So, for this week, I'm going to be taking a page out of my creative writing teacher's book and make a video on how you should go about writing your own isekai. Let's start first with the basics. What is an isekai? By literal definition, an isekai is just a story about traveling to another world. Popular stories in this genre include iconic anime such as Sword Art Online, ReZero, and Reborn as a Vending Machine, Now I Wandered the Dungeon. Yes, that last one is real. Now that you know exactly what you're going up against, without further ado, let's just jump into it. Just like how the protagonist of your story should jump in front of and practically on top of any and all danger presented to him in the first 5 seconds, to really sell the fact that he's a sympathetic and caring character. In fact, just to make sure that your audience knows that he is a courageous hero, it is best to also have him shout something about having guts right before he impales his own on a kitchen knife and then lies down to bleed to death. Of course, make sure he remembers the 2 random girls he just did this for, as he is a sympathetic character whose past affects his future, and occasionally some of his actions will be influenced by this moment and specifically only this moment. Right after your character dies a gruesome and completely unimpressive death is a crucial moment in the writing of your story, as it's the best opportunity to introduce as many important characters as you possibly can within the next 5 minutes. For example, God. Your character should meet up with the creators of the universe, who should act very open and friendly and be in a funny, goofy mood so that the audience won't question it when they randomly grant the main character numbers high enough to make a RuneScape player cry. You can immediately send him straight into the world without considering the consequences afterwards, because an adequate answer to all why questions going forward is now simply God. Now that your character is in his permanent residence, it's time to do the most important step in fleshing out this new world and your character's experiences in it. That's right, introducing more minor characters. Your audience doesn't need to know how this new magical world works, because they've already seen it a billion times in other isekai anime, so just slap a video game UI on everything and go absolutely ham introducing female characters that are immediately romantically interested in your prepubescent main character. The purpose of these characters here is to stand around and act all surprised at the power of your main character when he inevitably blows up the area of a small city-state with his lack of common sense. And of course, your character should never actually gain said common sense, because that would make him boring and an actually good character, which is unacceptable because that is far too much effort to be putting into a male character when you can be using that energy on copy-pasting the girl characters from other anime instead. Speaking of which, none of these female love interests should ever get past the brushing hands accidentally and blushing stage with the main character, because otherwise you will alienate the incels at home and prevent them from self-inserting. After doing some minimal demonstration of your main character's power so that everyone knows he is super strong, create an event where the main character stumbles across a super important character in a perilous situation and then saves them from it, like say, bandits. Because the escort of a princess in this country is so incompetent that they can be overwhelmed by unwashed and uneducated baboons. This should be a given though, because nobody in the story should be competent at all, minus the main character of course. This event will introduce your next 2 female characters after the previous ones have outstayed their popularity, preferably underage this time to match the preferences of your audience. But make them act like adults, because any variety in character writing is far too much effort for you. And needless for me to say, these 2 are to instantly fall in love with your protagonist after he saves them from glorified zoo animals, and should immediately offer to sleep with him. This is a necessary step to then have the king in his right hand peer pressure the protagonist into reluctantly accepting to marry them. Oh yeah, these 2 super important characters here, make them super casual characters who are instantly friends with the main character too. And also make the main character a super high-ranking guy himself at the age of -3 because he's already killed the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and also the icon of sin. To top off the first part of your anime, have the main character bring over a super overrated board game from his world to make everyone scream about how fabulous and fun this game is, including the gods, because they definitely have the free time to be doing that, and also don't have access to any other form of entertainment. It is at this point that the introductory arc of the story is finished. 4 episodes into the anime. And because writing character dialogue for entire episodes is more effort than it's worth, you give the protagonist a really high rank like Baron, so that can be dropped as a bomb randomly and cause the other characters to act surprised. Which you should immediately do in the same episode with these noble kids who pick a fight with your character and start shooting glorified water guns at him. Yeah, just make the chance of these magic spells like super long and super cringy. The more time the scene takes out of the episode, the less budget you have to actually spend on animating real magic. Okay, so now that we're finished with setting up the rest of the show to be so much of a drag that it makes a fucking cube feel aerodynamic, you can just randomly throw events at a wall for the next 3 or so episodes. So obviously the next step is to completely forget about the date event you were supposed to write with the 2 main girls, and instead have a few characters yell about how fucking amazing a bidet is, because apparently getting water shot up your ass just feels that good. And then have that event where the king shows up at your house party and scare the shit out of a rude guest because that's part of your checklist and you need to fill it. So now that your character is finished with impressing the entire country's nobles, it's time to remind the audience that he's really overpowered, just in case they were forgetting all of this was an isekai. Have him head over to the Knights Order of the Kingdom and beat all of them up, completely disregarding their years of training and perseverance with a little bit of oops I used 1% of my power haha. Notice how this is a new area that hasn't been explored yet. Do you know what that means? That's right, another new female character to introduce. This time she's the captain of the Knights, because every single important figure has to be a woman. A male character is just a waste of space in this story at this point, and cannot be given any significant screen time at all unless you want your ratings to plummet even further. We're halfway through the show now, so let's go over what we currently have. Overpowered main character who's a baron and has no common sense? Check. At least 5 girls plus his sister that are in love with him? Check. Connections to the king and also God? Check. What else can we do to drag this show out for as long as possible? Well, that should be obvious. Make him an adventurer. He should start at a low rank, do shit that only super high rank parties can do, because you really just have to quantify this character's strength by using the universal grading system. You should know the drill by now. Introduce new girls, have him beat shit up, make people go, whoa, you're so cool, and keep that going for like at least till episode 10. With all of that, you should be set and well on your way to making your own isekai anime. And don't forget, make the title of the story really long. Like, super fucking long. Longer than the actual synopsis of the story. And then give a recap at the start of every episode where the main character talks about how strong he is and goes, but that's a secret to everyone, just to remind your goldfish-brained audience that you have an overpowered main character every single week. Now all you have to do is sit back, relax, and watch all the Rule 34 roll in.